Well, we are on to Indy just like everyone out there this time of year. The Combine getting set to roll on at Lucas Oil Stadium. You know what time it is. The entire league spending the entire week there looking at the next generation of stars, trying to find those times who has the best arm and maybe who can put up 225 multiple times. But, of course, chasing that Lombardi. Well, we got boots on the ground. The Rickett Spillman and Pete Prisco show is back together again there in Indy. And, guys, I kind of want you to set the scene because I see a lot going on there. And, Rick, I'll start with you. What are you expecting to hear from players and see for them this week?
Yeah, no, I'm excited to see some of these guys perform this week, what they're able to do. You know, the one thing that me and Pete were talking about earlier is some of the guys that aren't going to perform. And take Jane Daniels, for example, who I think would really help himself. Like, he did not play in his bowl game. He did not show up down at an all-star game to throw. He's refusing to throw here. So as a general manager, I'm asking myself, what is he trying to hide? Because you see everything you want to see on tape, but you want to see it live too. So I'm disappointed that he's not going to do anything here from a throwing standpoint, and you're going to have to go see it down at his pro day.
Well, you can understand why he didn't play in his bowl game. I know you don't like
Neighbors
that.
played, did he not?
Well, so what? You don't play in the bowl. You don't risk your future. But why he isn't throwing here is kind of a mystery because he's got a big arm. You'd figure you want to come here and show it off. I don't understand that. But you know these guys, Rick. They get advice from their agents. The agents tell them not to throw, and they don't throw.
Okay, the one thing I'm going to argue with you is that if you're number 3 on everybody's list as it's right now, behind Drake Maye and behind Caleb Williams, he could move to potentially number 2 if he comes down here and performs. But let's say Drake Maye comes out and has an outstanding throwing session.
He's not going to throw now, it looks like, either. But when you look at it from that standpoint, why would a guy with a big arm not throw? I could understand if you had concerns about it, but he has a good arm. I think he should throw here. I'm with you on that. I think he should throw here.
Speaking of course, there, when it comes to Drake Maye, and Pete, you kind of touched on it, but Rick, I'm curious from the GM perspective, Josina Anderson reporting that he will not throw, he will do the physicals and interviews. Is that a takeaway for you, or is that okay considering he may be QB2 to a lot of people?
Yeah, you know, Pete, why don't you go ahead? I had some...
Yeah, well, look, when it comes to not throwing here, this is going to be a pattern going forward. Guys get advice from their agents. They don't want to throw. And so when you look at it from that standpoint, I understand it, but I would throw. And particularly if I'm Jane Daniels with a big arm. Drake Maye has a good arm. It's not a great arm. It's a good arm. He should throw as well. It doesn't make a lot of sense for guys not to throw.
Yeah, but the one thing from a general manager perspective, I know they haven't thrown to these receivers, so the timing may be off, which who cares? All I want to do is see him drop back during the drills. I want to see how the ball releases out of his hand. I want to see his throwing motion and his mechanics, because you can watch that on tape, but you have to verify a lot of things, especially at the quarterback position when you're watching him throw.
When you talk about quarterbacks a few years ago, remember the Bears were looking at a Justin Fields, and Ryan Poles speaking to our Jonathan Jones today saying, quote, I want to do right by Justin. Pete, when you hear that, of course, we still have him up in the air as maybe that first overall pick when it comes to Caleb Williams. Taking a quarterback, Justin Fields may either be on the move. When you hear that, what are your thoughts about Fields and his future in Chicago?
Well, I think they have a tough decision. You have to look at it from the economics. If you draft a quarterback, that gives you a couple more years to reset it in terms of your cap. But more than that, what are you going to get to move down? I think that's the biggest question. I think that's what, you know, Poles is setting the stage for that. Look, saying how much he loves Justin Fields, because if you keep saying that, then you're going to up the market to try and get that pick in terms of what they're doing.
You're wrong on that.
What?
He's saying that, and you're saying to try to get more picks. If he really loved Justin Fields, he would be the Chicago Bears quarterback going forward, and he would make a commitment to him before the Combine.
I don't think he's making a commitment to him one way or the other. I think he's trying to play the game, trying to get picks, A, for him or for that pick. I think he's doing it both ways, and I think you can do it both ways. If they trade that pick, Justin Fields will be the quarterback. If they keep the pick, then obviously I think.
But why wouldn't you have made that decision by now?
Well, because maybe you haven't done your work on all those quarterbacks yet. Here's the other possibility. Everybody keeps saying, oh, trade the pick and keep the pick, trade Justin Fields, and draft Caleb Williams? What about trading down and taking another quarterback like Jaden Daniels and getting more picks? What about that possibility?
Yeah, I mean, you come here looking at all the possibilities that can potentially happen, and all these meetings, are so many behind-the-scene meetings going on right now. I could tell you right now, the interviews that are going on at night with these players over in the suites, there is GMs walking from suite to suite in the hallways talking about potential trades, and that's where a lot of the initiation of these trades start happening.
What would you do?
I would trade Justin Fields, I would draft Caleb Williams, and I'm moving on. The only reason I'm saying that is because I know if I keep Justin Fields, then I'm going to have to pay him, because I know he makes, and he's going to have like a $22 million fifth-year option after next year. So you better, if you're not going to take the #1 overall pick, you've had it 2 years in a row. If you're going to have it a third year, you're not going to be there anyway. So take a franchise quarterback like Caleb Williams, build around him, get what you can out of Justin Fields, and move on.
Or trade down to 2, get extra picks, and take Jaden Daniels, and then get rid of Justin Fields.
I love when you come here and play fantasy.
Well,
man,
no, it's not fantasy.
Sense.
Why? Because Caleb Williams is a clear-cut #1
yes,
in your book.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a franchise
just like Bryce Young was last year.
Okay.
Well, look, questions and answers only Ryan Poles knows when it comes to the Bears. But over in Baltimore, look, the Ravens are planning to tag Justin Madubuike. He was a big part of that D-line. You talk about there, Rick, a little bit. But when you're talking about trying to keep a team together, your thoughts on them maybe tagging them and maybe trying to get a deal? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, what I would say is right now, with the cap going up the way it went up, to tag Madubuike, it's going to be around $22 million for that tag. They have about $16 million in cap room. They have some other free agents as well, but Madubuike is a unique individual at that position. Not only can play the run, but he is a difference maker as a pass rusher. That is the hardest position to find, that 3 technique or that inside pass rusher, and most defenses are predicated around having one of those guys be the engine for the rest of the defense, like Chris Jones is for the Kansas City Chiefs. This kid is young. He's getting his first bite at the apple. He's going to want as much as he can, but they cannot let him get out in the open market.
And they won't. And you're right. He's such a big part of what they do. You saw guys like Clowney and Van Noy. They became good sack guys in terms of pressures, in large part because what he can do in the middle of that defense. He's tough to block one-on-one. He's only 26 years old. You do not let that get out the door. It's a the decision is easy to make for them, and I think they will get a long-term deal done with him. That's what the Ravens do. They'll find a way to keep him and make him happy.
That cap number, by the way, $22.1 million, as we saw there on that graphic. Before I let you guys go, Pete, I'm curious, what are you looking forward to the rest of the day here up there in Indy?
A lot of these prospects will come out here and lie and lie and lie, and a lot of these GMs, like Rick Spielman used to do, will come out and lie and lie and lie. That's what they do. Hey, Rick, are you going to draft this guy? No interest in him, and then he drafts him. They all lie. It's a lying season.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to Pete Prisco being on these shows all the way through Sunday. Are you staying?
Saturday.
Yeah.
All right, fellas, before I let you go, hey, Pete, show me Rick's posing face real quick. Let me see what he does in front of the camera. Pete and Rick, appreciate it as always, fellas. Have fun up there in Indy. Hey, look, when it comes to all those pods, the one you want to rock with the first pick, our guys dialing it up. Of course, it's getting closer to the real deal when it comes to those draft picks. Of course, we got the Combine, then in April, the real deal when it comes to making that first pick. And Chicago is on the board. But download and subscribe to this pod.